All right, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the regular City Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. Please have roll call.
Commissioner Drosky,
Here.
Commissioner Hudak,
Here.
Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Here.
Mayor Gantz.
Here. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I know we're doing our moment of silence when we're all gathered together as opposed to online. It would be remiss of me to not point out that over the last week, we lost a 39-year employee with the city of Deerfield Beach, Mike Vance or Chance. Mike was just a great guy to work with, a great guy to have here, and he's going to be dearly missed. So I'd like us all to please keep him and his family in their thoughts and prayers. And Vice Mayor, would you do us the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. If we could have approval of the City Commission meeting minutes from July 7th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion from the Vice Mayor. We have second from Commissioner Hudak. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Our acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes for code compliance meetings minutes for January 14th, January 29th, February 11th, February 26th, and March 10th, 2020. Also, Hillsborough Inlet District meeting minutes for June 15th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Our approval of our agenda for August 4th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, second by our Vice Mayor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Tonight we have our awards and recognition, but first Sheriff Gregory Tony has requested to join us tonight, and we're happy to have him. Sheriff Tony.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to participate in today's meeting. I think it's very timely for me to come here and speak to you all as we as a community, more so as a country, are dealing with two major issues right now. One, of course, is COVID-19 crisis, which is impacting us. And then the other, a worldwide push for police reform. And so what I'd like to do is just take a moment to give you some things that you can take back to your constituents, to your community, as to what the law enforcement organization that provides public safety services for your community is doing. To begin with, let me talk about the police reform aspect. I think that one is really at the heart of much issues when it comes to what's been occurring in the United States in this profession when it comes to dealing with Black and brown people and the conflict that we repeatedly see take place. Over the span of roughly 19 months, I accepted command of this organization with the focal point to come in and fix and mitigate a multitude of issues related to active shooter preparedness and response protocols. There's no need to go back through all those details, but we suffered a huge tragedy here in Parkland, which rippled across this entire county. Coming in, that was quite frankly easy to accomplish. We went and partnered up with the FBI, Homeland Security, all the core and governing entities that have the top training, and we brought that here to Broward County. We expanded our training protocols, changed policies.
Did we lose the sheriff?
Yes, I think so.
Commission, if it's all right, we can wait for a moment to see if Sheriff will be rejoining us.
Mayor, he's still showing as a participant, but for some reason his video is no longer an option.
Okay. It looks like, no, it was there. Now he's on mute. Do we? Sheriff, we see you. We just can't hear you just yet. Are we able to unmute the sheriff?
Here we are. Yep, just
no, there we are.
Queued on mute. Can you...
Oh, we had.
I'm not sure where did Mayor, I'm not sure where you lost me at, so I'll try to speed it up a little bit. So
Okay.
I'm not eating up so much of your time. Point being, sir, we've expanded all our active shooter protocols, but we had to push for a new call in terms of what was occurring here from a cultural aspect in this agency. And to be very short and clear about it, we were not being as accountable and as transparent to this community as we should have when it comes to those very few encounters of police brutality or excessive force, which oftentimes fragment the trust that we have. We put in checks and balances in advance, long before the brutal murder of Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis. We took the added extra initiative to make sure we introduce an early warning system into this organization to track and monitor any law enforcement officer or official that may be exhibiting signs that they either need retraining or remove or discipline. That's been established going back as far as February 2019. I also demanded and created the first use of force review board in this agency's history, where all of our use of forces that are currently through all our cities, not just yours, but all our cities that we are contracted with, are now being reviewed by a panel of subject matter experts to make sure that not only were the men and women that may serve Deerfield were in compliance, but is it consistent about what we expect here as administrators. We also had to reestablish our professional standards committee. Our professional standards committee is something that has been part of this organization for roughly 30 years now. And the idea behind the professional standards committee was to build a body of both law enforcement and civilians who would be able to sit and analyze all our internal affairs investigations and then provide a recommendation for disciplinary actions that will be forwarded along to myself or any seating sheriff. In this particular case, I looked at the culture that was established with the professional standards committee that was in place upon me coming in here. And quite frankly, I was disappointed with how we were responding to certain set of circumstances when it came to use of force. For example, beating someone in handcuffs in a hospital, unacceptable. Professional standards committee was providing very marginal, in my opinion, disciplinary recommendations. I disagree with them. I terminated the employee. We had a use of force case where an individual was beating a man in handcuffs inside of our jail. Unacceptable. I terminated him. Then we had a very electrifying case which could have transpired into a Minneapolis type response when we had a 15-year-old black male in Tamarack who was involved in a disorderly conduct case, whereas his face was slammed into the ground. These type of cases were very challenging as an organization, but clear for me in terms of how I was going to act, because I knew if we didn't take a very hard stance on these issues, we very well could be facing rioting and picketing and things of that nature here in Broward County. So I terminated that employee as well. But terminating employees is retroactive. That means the harm is already done. Somebody's already hurt, harmed, or killed. And so I had to take a very hard look at what I knew as a black man in this country and what I knew as an administrator about what can we do to help mitigate some of these conflicts. The county introduced a racial equity and implicit bias training program several years ago. BSO had opted out of that training. I think that was a poor judgment there, but now I'm in charge. It's my responsibility. I dove into this racial equity and implicit bias training, invested $500,000 in the front end to make sure that all of my men and women are trained in this particular area to help have a better understanding about real issues of how Black and brown people perceive law enforcement and how we have been interacting from a standpoint of just culture and years and years and years. That started out with some success, but then we had, of course, the George Floyd murder. And I was under the mindset that that type of training is not just important for BSO, but it's important for all of our local municipals, because if something takes place in Fort Lauderdale, BSO is most certainly going to have to respond. And so I challenged all my chiefs of police in the county for them to participate in this program. And I made it very easy on them because I just reallocated funding and went from $500,000 to $1 million to make sure that every single law enforcement officer receives this training and that we not hesitate to get this done. We should be proud as an entire county on this, and that every chief accepted that challenge as a part of this process now for racial equity and implicit bias training. And we're the only county in the state of Florida to do such a project. But that is just the beginning. I've also had to look at what we are doing to mitigate just any type of conflict. There's a lot of different systemic and institutional levels of racism that exist within every aspect of the criminal justice system, from law enforcement to corrections to courts, sentencing, arrest procedures, et cetera. And what I wanted to try to do is look at our costs in terms of what am I spending on an annual basis in our jails, roughly $278 million. Well, it would make sense that we reallocate funding, as there's calls for defunding policing. What I have said, we need to reallocate funding to projects that can help keep people out of jail, that help keep conflict from occurring. We started our Broward Sheriff's Office Youth Mentoring Program. It's a summer program which will give us an opportunity to work with those kids who need it most. And typically that's in the Black and brown community. We partnered up with a group, the Divine Nine, which is representative of all the historic Black colleges and fraternities and sororities that are now part of this partnership, where we can pull funding into these bodies that are already doing activities and reaching and touching these communities. I started out with $250,000. We'll push that up to $1 million. And I think the county is willing to line item this, as we're still having dialogue about that. We also expanded opportunities in both our fire cadet program, as well as the Police Explorer program. Many times as I've traveled through the city, including yours, I've heard the request that they'd like to see more diversification within our fire rescue services. And it is very much a fair request, as we do not have a large minority population that represents Broward County in our fire rescue services. And so what we are doing now is providing scholarship opportunities through our BSO Legacy program, which we established here, that will give these young men and women in these communities that families don't have disposable income to spend between $10,000 and $15,000 to get the EMS certifications, the fire rescue certificate, et cetera. Finance is very much so part of the burden behind why we have not seen a significant change in how many employees that work in fire rescue that are people of color. I think we're going to help merge and fix these type of things, and it will only expand community relations. Your city has also participated in an initiative we launched last year in August of 2019 called our Park, Walk, and Talk Initiative. I heard this in much conversation, and I'll throw Commissioner Preston on the spot because he and I have talked about this in the past, about the importance of our law enforcement parties getting out of their cars and engaging with the community in a positive setting, and not just waiting for 911 calls for services. The Park, Walk, and Talk program was launched in August of 2019. And I'll pull you a quick data figure here about what the successes are looking like. From launching that program of August of 2019, I gotta say Deerfield has been one of our shining stars in that they're active. Over 1,000 times our men and women have been out of their cars, they're talking, they're going into the churches, they're going into their business districts, they're walking the beaches, they're engaging with people. And I truly believe that it makes a heck of a lot different type of policing when people know you on a first name basis. And you're not just Sheriff Tony, but you're Greg. You're Greg from Philadelphia, who went to college, and he's a good guy. He likes to play baseball. Building these real authentic relationships so we know who the people it is that we serve, and the people know us. We also worked very hard, which is now transitioning into the importance about fighting this COVID-19 crisis. Last year, we built out something called our neighborhood support teams. Your city has a dedicated sergeant and deputy who's now responsible for building a coalition, so to speak, of forces between school teachers, business entities, pastors, clergymen, et cetera, so that they can field and filter back the issues that affect Deerfield. The issues in Deerfield are not the same in Weston, and those of Weston are not the same in Parkland. And the only way to truly understand that is to have teams in each part of our cities, including our law enforcement officers, not leaving it to a handful of civilians, to engage with the community and give us information back. Prime example of a successor here. We looked at how this crisis was hitting all of our districts, and we heard something universal coming from our neighborhood support teams. People were running out of food. People were hungry in Deerfield. People were hungry in Pompano. And so we partnered up with Feeding South Florida, and within the first 90 days, we set up food distribution sites across the entire county, issuing out over 16 million pounds of food. A few weeks ago, having spoke to Paco Velez, the president there, made it clear that this was not going to be enough and he needed further support. I reallocated $100,000 out of our law enforcement trust fund to procure another 750,000+ meals for our Broward County residents. This is just another step to take the stress and burden off the people that we serve. As I truly believe, there is a nexus between suffering, poverty, inability to eat, to criminality. And so if I'm able to put food on the plate for people, perhaps I'm keeping somebody from committing a robbery. Perhaps I'm keeping somebody from robbing or doing a theft or burglary. So these initiatives are ongoing. You'll see more engagement out of us. Our website at sheriff.org/Sheriff Tony has outlined every single core program that we put in place. And what I would do at this time is just for a second pause and say thank you all. As when I've gone out, look, I'm one of the youngest sheriffs in the state of Florida. So I'm still a field operations guy. I'm still out there patrolling. I'm still chasing people, doing police work. And while I explored and worked in Deerfield with Captain Brimlow, delivering food, remember Commissioner Preston and a few others were out there with us, knocking on doors and helping the community. And I think that says a lot about your team you have there, Mayor, and about our commissioners, that you're not just willing to talk, but you're willing to do. And so I've been proud to work with you all. I look forward to expanding our relationships. And with that, I'll yield and take any questions you may have for me.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate it. Appreciate for the update. I do have a question regarding any directives that might be coming from you or anyone downtown, down to your chiefs and the officers in Broward County in dealing with any COVID-related ordinances and the actual enforcement of that, whether it be the mask policy or anything like that. Are they instructed to enforce these ordinances that are in place?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on, and I'm glad you brought that up because I had this earlier today. When it comes to the ordinances and the administrative orders that's been passed by the county administrator or those of the governor, we as the law enforcement entity here have very a balanced approach in terms of what we were going to be doing. We started out, Mayor, with taking a proactive educational opportunity for our community, for our businesses, for our residents to say and go out during calls of service. We would provide a verbal warning. We would educate on the importance of social distancing and then CDC compliance and wearing a mask and wearing gloves. However, when we looked at what has been occurring beyond those warnings, it got to a point where the county elected to strengthen up some of those restrictions and affording code officers to go out and write citations and shut businesses down. And so your district commander, Captain Brimlow, and the men and women down there are under the directives to continue to provide that type of educational opportunity and leniency. But at the same time, we have to enforce those things that are impacting public safety. And unfortunately, as a community, not just isolating one city, because I cruise all of Broward County, I think we as a community have not taken on a greater degree of social responsibility. It is clear that the minimum things that an individual can do between reducing their chances of being in large populations and gatherings, minimizing their exposure via wearing a mask, cleaning their hands, these are not intrusive things that we are requesting as a society, in my opinion. I think these are fair things because unlike any enemy that we've ever encountered, in terms of law enforcement, here's an enemy that is less than 6 feet in front of me. I can't see it, I can't touch it, taste it, or hear it, but yet it can kill me. And that transfers over not from just law enforcement, but for every resident in your city and therefore in our county. So what I'm encouraging is that our men and women out in your districts are taking a balanced and educational platform, but we can only provide so many warnings before it gets to the point where the public safety is being jeopardized.
Okay, so there isn't while I know we're leaning towards education and warnings at this point, we are not restricting them from going out and actually enforcing the rules.
No, sir. I think the time has come where we are going to have to enforce some of these things. And when I mean the time has come, how many warnings are we going to continue to supply before this virus just continues to spread and spread and spread? I'll give you an example. We looked at all our calls for services here in Broward County, and we had over 1,100 plus calls for services just for house parties. And I've gone out with my men, and we're going out to house parties, and there's 100 people there. Well, how many warnings are we going to provide? We'd have to take some really hard actions and write citations. And we launched an operation in one of our districts that had a higher volume of these type of calls for services and these roving car clubs, which is really starting to manifest itself into other type of crimes happening. For example, we had several house parties. The house parties are not in compliance with CDC. Then the after party turns into a shooting. And so all these things are starting to bridge themselves into law enforcement have to start enforcing the minimum things because they're turning into greater incidents and crimes in our cities.
Okay, thank you. Commission, do we have any questions for the sheriff? What's your
Commissioner-
preference?
Yes, Sheriff Tony, I'd like to thank you for coming down and providing the information that you have. Certainly, it is important for this commission. I am the commissioner in District 2, where there is a lot of challenges, Sheriff. And when you have a lot of finances in an area that is already socially challenged, you come into something like a pandemic, like what we're experiencing now with COVID-19, it only gets worse. And, I have to tell you that I've had some situations where I've had to depend on BSO and Chief Brimlow and Lieutenant Adam Hofstein. Both have been able to help me deal with some situations in this district that sometimes are very, very challenging. And they don't give me the politically right answer. They always do and say what is right, for our city. And so I trust them. And I'm glad that we have people like that in the city of Deerfield Beach, because there are times that I've really had to call upon them to help resolve issues, and they have done a very good job in doing so. So I really appreciate that type of communication, because as you know, the most economically challenged district in Deerfield is District 2. And when you don't have the infrastructure economically, without a doubt, you're going to have a tremendous amount of challenges, which you're not just overcoming the social part of the challenges. There's so many other things in the background. And amidst all of that, you still must have communication, you must have structure, and you must have guidance. Thanks to Chief Brimlow and Lieutenant Adam Hofstein, they have been able to do that, and I really appreciate their effort.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate you recognizing the type of commitment you have out there. Captain Brimlow was one of my first promotions in terms of accepting command of this organization. Had an outstanding reputation amongst the troops. And it was clear that he was going to be innovative. He's engaging. He cares about the community. He puts a lot of time into figuring out projects. Deerfield is leading on technology aspects. You all know about your real-time crime center aspect that mirrors what we launched here for the whole county. But it was Chief Brimlow that actually pushed that project to lead it up in Deerfield. And we have some other things that we're going to be working on, looking at technology and other options that we can help to impact your community, make it safer, and not forget about some of those districts like yours, sir, that have a little bit more tougher burden to carry just because of the social economic disadvantages that they have. But thank you for that, and I hope Captain Brimlow heard you.
Thank you, sir.
Sheriff, I have one other comment. And when you said technology, it reminded me of conversations I've had with some people in our city. We've had some shootings in our central area of the city, and I've had this discussion with our chief regarding the technology of using shot tracker as a possibility for help trying to locate some of these issues. My conversations with him has said that he felt that from a financial standpoint and an effective standpoint, that it made more sense to go with LPRs and cameras, which we are able to use law enforcement trust fund money towards that, as opposed to shot tracker. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, look, the law enforcement, when you're talking about LPR readers and how they have been able to impact, I'll give you a quick scenario about how effective these things are. We had a firefighter who was killed in Lauderhill by the Sea several months ago. Worked for Coral Springs Fire Rescue, was murdered about 2 o'clock at night, and there wasn't one witness to be seen. Unfortunately, the Lauderhill by the Sea had invested in the LPR readers, and they got a hit on the car as it was leaving the crime scene. And our investigators and our threat management unit, homicide, etc., was able to find these individuals and bring them into custody within hours, which normally doesn't happen. You're talking about a 48 to 72 hour turnover on a homicide, and that's pretty effective. Whereas if you think about if you had invested into ShotSpotter or any other similar system, what it would have done is to be able to capture the sound, translate that information over to dispatch, but with no certainty that we would ever have picked up a vehicle tag and therefore no suspects. So there's a benefit to both technologies, but if we're talking about an immediate investment, I agree with Captain Brimlow. But what I will tell you is that we are exploring and looking at what other options we have to absorb that burden and introduce ShotSpotter as a technology for your city. And I'm trying to be as creative as I can. I can't commit to it just of yet. My goal is to, if we can introduce these systems into several key parts of our county without creating a new burden for you, therefore a new burden for the community that put you in office and voted for you, I think we all win. It's just going to be a matter of being innovative, looking at what statutory elements exist with the trust funds as well as our federal trust fund bank and how we can bridge that gap. But that was the reference point. I wasn't going to bring it up today because I'd rather have something more concrete for you, but you kind of stole my thunder, but that's what we're working on, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. It is ShotSpotter. I thank you for correcting me. I had that wrong, but thank you so much for that. Commission, do we have any more questions for the sheriff? I don't see any hands raised. Sheriff, we thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. Stay safe. The next item we have on our agenda is a certificate of recognition presented to our water plant operations staff. Mr. Santucci, would you like to do the honors? Tom?
Mayor. And thank you for allowing me the honor to speak on behalf of the city's water plant. I'm really very proud to acknowledge how hard staff has worked to achieve best-in-class performance. So much so that the city of Deerfield Beach has received the 2019 Florida American Water Works Association's Most Improved Water Plant Class A award. This award is based on exemplary performance in plant operations, maintenance, cost efficiency, plant safety, training, and achieving consistently high drinking water quality. This water treatment plant award is based on 3 size classes, with Class A being the largest treatment facilities in the state, and competition is clearly fierce. Now, if you would pardon me with the long list I am going to read, we have this operation. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a great team and a number of people are participating in making this water plant a success. The staff members that contribute in making this statewide award possible are Roland Dominguez, Walter Moser, Lata McDonald, Bernard Sucra, Claude Andrade, Steve Simone, Ilsa Alvarez Henriquez, Micheline Mitchell, Alfonso Zayas, Clemmy Rennie, Dwitsky Linares, Melissa Namor, Donald Bradley, David Brisbane, Raymond Jones, Robert Latora, Luis Rivera, Antonio Johnson, Robert Brown, Ernest Cadet, Will Serrano, Fernando Camano, Joshua Neiman, John Holman, Yovan Sylvan, Adrian Lucano, Hamid Nikvan, and Alan Fati. As a winner of this prestigious award, we are going to be highlighted in the August edition of the Florida Water Resource Journal. Also, the Florida American Water Works Association has tentatively scheduled a presentation of a plaque to us at the 2020 Fall Conference. So if you would please join me in congratulating the water plant team for their hard work in providing safe and reliable water to the residents and being recognized as the most improved water treatment plant in the state of Florida. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, staff. We are very, very proud of you for doing that. We know that we've had some people out there in the past few years who've tried to take some shots at our water plant. And this is a true honor to have this to represent the entire state of Florida. You've done an outstanding job. We are very, very proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mr. Santucci, would you like to do a presentation for the recognition regarding the budget and performance division? Or Tom, do you get to do the honors of that as well?
Actually, I think I'm unmuted, so I guess we'll just keep Dave quiet for a little while longer, and I'll take
We're all
over.
in favor of that, Ms. Tinsley. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I would like to, and I'm so pleased to inform you that based on the examination by a panel of independent reviewers, the City of Deerfield Beach has been awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association, or the GFOA, for the FY 2020 budget document. This award is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. It reflects the commitment of the governing body, the leadership of the city, as well as the entire staff, and especially the budget team, in meeting the highest principles of governmental budgeting. In order to receive the budget award, the entity had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. These guidelines are designed to assess how well an entity's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. The budget documents must be rated at least proficient in all 4 categories and in the 14 mandatory criteria within these categories in order to receive the award. The team members that contributed in making this nationwide award possible are Allison Teslia, the budget manager, and Gilberto Hernandez, our budget analyst, and with the support of various team members who assisted as needed throughout the process. Please join me in congratulating the budget and performance team for their hard work in achieving this prestigious nationally recognized award.
Outstanding. We're very, very thankful for that, and a great job to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tinsley. City Attorney, would you like this to move us on to the next item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next 7 items, actually items 4 through 10, relate to the Vista Clara development. I'm going to read the title for item number 4. I believe we have a presentation from the representative, and I believe it's going to be a combined presentation, but just a reminder that you'll have to vote on each one of these individually. So item number 4 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, rezoning approximately 8.4 acres located at 414, 430, 454, and 480 Northeast 1st Avenue, 240 Northeast 5th Street, 412, 424, 430, 446, 450, and 458 North River Drive, and 409 North River Avenue from RS5 residence, single family, RM10 residence, multifamily, and B3 business general to planned development district, PDD, providing for a maximum of 326 multifamily dwelling units, providing for development regulations and other requirements applicable to the PDD, providing for severability conflicts, and an effective date. This is second reading.
Thank you. We have the representative.
Good evening. This is Dennis Mele. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So you may recall that in early March, we had the first reading of the rezoning. At that time, we also presented, although they weren't on the agenda, the site plan to show what we were doing. None of that has changed since the March meeting, but we'll go through these slides quickly and try to address each issue. But before I do that, if I can just very quickly review. It's okay, we can go to the aerial photo, thank you. Just to review, so item number 4 is the second reading of the rezoning. We have actually, this property consists of portions of 5 different plats. 3 of those plats have a plat note, so we have to amend them. The other 2 plats don't have a note, so we don't have to amend them. And so what you'll see on items 5, 6, and 7 is the portions of the property that do have plat notes, we're amending them to match the site plan. Two of those plats, the Antibes plat and the Pinel plat, the portions of the property we're putting there, actually the Antibes plat and the Antibes 2 plat are areas where the parking garage is going. So that's right along First Avenue. And then the Pinel plat is further east on the property, and that's where a portion of the residential is going. But those plat note amendment items are really kind of housekeeping items that the county uses to assess and collect impact fees. Item number 8 is the site plan. We'll show that in a minute. Again, that has not changed from what we showed you in March, although there have been many changes since we first started the project, including significant reductions in the heights of not only the main building, but the parking garage building as well. And when we pull that site plan up, I'll go over those quickly. And then item 9, there are some utility easements that we have to relocate. Those are reflected in item 9. And then item 10 is the development agreement. And I know we summarized that when we were here in March, but I'll go over some of the details on that in a moment. Could we go to the next slide, please? So this is just some aerial photographs of the property from different angles. We could go to the next slide, please. Again, ground level photographs from different angles, and you see the location where the picture was pointing from the site to off-site. And you see the northern one is that white star, the southern one is the pink star, and the middle one's the orange star. So those are just showing you the properties around us as you look from our property to those other properties. We go to the next slide, please. Again, just another aerial photograph. You see the Pinel boat operation on most of the property, the buildings and other things associated with that operation. We go to the next slide, please. On the left, you see the various zoning districts that the city attorney just read. Portions of the property are B3, portions are RM10, a very small portion at the top is RS5, and we're rezoning all of that to PDD. We go to the next slide, please. So this is the site plan. And so I just want to review those heights real quick because I know at previous hearings, that was a important point to discuss. So when we first, so you see the garage building is in purple. And so north is now on our right. And at the top is the First Avenue frontage. At the bottom is the Hillsborough River. Off to the lower left is River Avenue. So the two purple rectangles, that's the garage building. At one point, those were 6 stories. They were 66 feet. Now the maximum height on that garage building is 41 feet. The main building, which you see kind of in that, I guess it's a salmon color. Those are the, the residential portions of the main building. At one point, we were at 84 feet in height on those areas. We're now down to 60 feet. In that center tan area, that also at one point was the highest height, the 84 feet. It's now at 65. That tan area is the recreation elements of the building, the lobby, the business center, some of the other recreational amenities. So it's just a tad bit taller than the main building. But all of these are under the building height for similar zoning districts, and of course meet the requirements for the PDD building height. But I know at previous meetings there was a lot of discussion about that, so we wanted to let you know of the reductions we have made. I did show this same site plan in March though, so it has been the same since March, but it's a reduction from where we were at an earlier point in time. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this is just showing you access routes. There was a lot of questions about that, getting you over to and from River Avenue. And you see the various routes coming east and west and south. Obviously to the north, we're blocked off by the water. If we could go to the next slide, please. So there are a number of public improvements, and those are all listed in the development agreement, which is part of agenda item number 10. But if you look at that agreement, there's 3 categories of public improvements. In Article 2 of the agreement, we talk about the boardwalk and recreational improvements, which is really what you see in blue. And then in Article 3, we talk about other public benefit improvements, which include improvements along First Avenue, along North River Avenue. You see in yellow the sidewalk connection that we're now making from the existing sidewalk on Fifth Street to get you over to the boardwalk. So members of the public have that access point, as well as you see the green line along North River Avenue, and where that touches the blue, that's another way to get onto the boardwalk. The agreement has details about how that will be built and maintained. Also, obviously the City Parks Department will have control over making sure that the area, or to have the rules about the areas being, when is it open, when is it closed. We'll have gates so that if it needs to be closed at night, it's closed at night. And then we have a variety of public improvements along the roadways. We're also replacing a major lift station for the city that will provide a better sewer service to the area. So all of these improvements are dealing with transportation, utilities, public access, sidewalks, drainage improvements, lighting improvements, all detailed in the development agreement that's attached to item 10. Could we go to the next slide, please? Now, these are just some elevations, materials and color schemes for the building. This was already gone to the Community Appearance Board, but it's part of the site plan package for this evening. We go to the next slide, please. And this is just a rendering of the main entrance, that area where you see the Vista Clara communities. That was that area that was 65 foot high, just a tad bit taller than the 60 foot high for the residential wings, but just to create a really nice entrance. We'll go to the next slide, please. And this is the parking garage along First Avenue. And you see how it says at the bottom 0 to 5 years. So this is showing, the initial planting. And then if we go to the next slide, you'll see what it'll look like after the landscaping has had an opportunity to grow in. Our effort here is to make this frontage along First Avenue look good and not make it look like a parking garage. And I think we've achieved that. I know we had a lot of very positive comments about this elevation and the previous one that I showed when we were at planning and zoning. If we could go to the next slide, please. And then this is a view from the boardwalk area, the boat dock area, looking towards the kind of area in the middle of that M shape of the building along the waterway. And if we could go to the next slide, I think that might be our last one. And then this again, the boardwalk area with the docks that we're showing and what that area will look like. So having said that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If there's any public comment, I'd like the opportunity to respond as appropriate. By the way, I don't need to show any more of these slides at this point. By the way, I want to mention that I talked to the city attorney and we are waiving the quasi-judicial procedure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have some comments from the public. I'd like to open it to the public. I don't know if we have anybody down in the chambers to speak. I do know we had some people write in for this item. Before the commission discusses this item, can we hear from the public? Starting with what was emailed in, please.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Marty Ojora, 459 Northeast First Avenue, Deerfield Beach. Dear Council, it is apparent, despite the residents' objections to density, height, setbacks, and traffic, it is a foregone conclusion that this resolution will be approved as a PDD. Nothing was changed by the developer to address these issues, but to lower the height of the building, but increase the footprint of the residential building and increase the height of the garage. I find it amazing that City Council approved adding a PDD as a zoning district on October 16, 2018, and the land use amendment was approved for the project was approved on 11/13/2018, which would have specific regulations concerning heights and setbacks. The developer was supposed to have another meeting with the public prior to this meeting. I realize that with the current situation, it could not be held, but how many virtual meetings has the city council had since March? The same should have been done with people from the neighborhood. I do have a problem with the notification for the prior meeting. City staff was provided with time-dated photos, which showed the period the signs were more than 22 hours that Mr. Mele stated. Was an affidavit provided for the 22 hours? Finally, in the developer's agreement, please see attached, is there a way to hold the developer to never use the Northeast First Avenue entrance for the residents? It appears that they have an out per section 1.7 attached. Can the agreement be amended in such a way to never allow the Northeast First Avenue entrance be used for the residents? And then he actually outlines, if you go to the next page, outlines the modification to PDD master plan and site plan. From time to time, developer may have a need to request that the city approve amendments to the site plan and exhibits attached here too, provided that said site plan amendments and/or amendments to exhibits attached here too meet the criteria in the code for administrative site plan amendments as determined by the city's Planning and Development Services Director or his or her designee, and do not conflict with the terms of this agreement. No amendments to this agreement shall be required for such amendments to the site plan and/or amendments to any exhibits attached here too. Notwithstanding, in the event a change or modification to the site plan or exhibits to this agreement is required by applicable governmental or quasi-governmental authorities, such change or modification will not require an amendment to this agreement. Next page.
I believe your actual time, is this the next?
Yeah, this is the last bullet point.
Okay.
1.9 says access to and from Northeast First Avenue. Vehicular access to the property from Northeast First Avenue as shown on the approved site plan is restricted to service, delivery, and emergency vehicles only. No tractor trailers shall be allowed. That is the end of the written comments, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone in chambers to speak?
Yes, he's coming up now.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please.
It's on mute. Address.
There you are, sir. Go right ahead.
How are you?
Excellent.
Great, thanks for having me. I just want to object to the new
If we
building.
can have your name and address for the record, sir.
Joseph, I'd like to stay somewhat anonymous, if that's all right.
You have to give your name and address for the record if you could.
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, for a hearing like this, you have to give the name and address to speak in public comment.
Okay, well, just know that I'd object to putting a big building there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is there anyone else in the chambers who'd like to stand up to speak on this item?
No, there's not, Mayor.
Okay. We see we have someone online who's got their hand raised. Gwen Clark Reed. If we could unmute Ms. Clark Reed.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Gwen Clark Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way, Deerfield Beach. I have a question about the land over there. Is there any contamination of the ground from the marina operation on this site?
We can get that answer for you after. Do you have any other comments on that?
No, that was just my question.
Okay, we'll get that answered for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? a minute. Yes. Kirstie?
Hi, yes, my name is Kirstie Daise. Address is 221 Northeast 6th Street. My comment is once again with the number of units in this building. As my neighbor has said, the only thing they did was to lower the height. And we do know that there are height referendums in Deerfield Beach, but what is about, I mean, we still don't know as the neighbors, the residents of this neighborhood, how does this truly, with another 326 units, how is that really going to impact our livelihood, the way we live in this neighborhood? Everyone can see the narrow streets as they drive into this area. There's no way that 326 units are going to be able to fit on North River Avenue at all. So the only thing they did was lower the height of the garage in the building, but the number of units still hasn't changed.
Is that your only comments?
That is my comment, yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else from the public out there?
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to point out, I believe since the applicant presented, I don't think he's doing a separate presentation. I just want to point out anybody from the public can speak on any of the items, I think 4 through 10.
Okay. And that means they can speak multiple times if they'd like.
Yeah, I was just saying they could address all of the comments at one time if you prefer.
This is the time for all of them, all of the public comments right now. We'll give everyone just a few minutes. Commissioner Press, I know you have your hand raised. If we can wait until after we go through all the public comments, if that's all right. I don't see any other comments at this time. I'm going to close it to the public. Commissioner Preston, or excuse me, wait, Ms. Garcia. I'm going to reopen it to the public if the commission is all right with that. Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead. Is your name and address for the record, please?
Okay, my name is Virginia Garcia Perez. I'm the owner of the property located at 1050 Northwest 45th Street in Deerfield. And I'm here to address the concerns raised by one of my neighbors, Mr. Adam and Morgan Usina, at the last commissioner meeting held on July 7th, 2020, pertaining to my property and the rental of the same through Airbnb. They have been the only neighbors from the community that have been complained, and they have represented the facts. Although it is true that in the past we were some loud and destructive renters.
Ms. Garcia, are you commenting on this particular item, or is this has to do with another item?
Is this item only?
But you're talking about the Airbnb issue, that has anything to do with Vista Clara?
The address that I told you about.
Ma'am, does this have anything to do with the Vista Clara property that we're talking about right now?
No.
No. Okay. This is not your time to speak. There will be another time.
Okay, I apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else on this item? Not seeing anyone. I'm going to close it to the public. Commissioner Preston and then Vice Mayor Parnas.
I wanted to hear Mr. Mele address the concerns of Mr. Maduro. And then I want to know, in addition, have Mr. Mele, as representative, have you reached out to the surrounding residents to establish as much communication as possible and to keep them advised of to every decision being made going along the way?
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to respond now?
Please.
Okay. If I can, I will try to respond both to Commissioner Preston's question and then some of the items that were raised as well. So we've had, I believe, at least five community meetings on the project and everything that we're working on. After our meeting in March, we did do an email out to the community, but obviously with the current situation, it was very difficult to have a meeting. I think what we've done, well, first of all, let me address the questions of this first speaker about the agreement. every agreement has an amendment paragraph in it because sometimes you have to amend it. I believe that the concern that the gentleman presented is he wants to make sure that we don't amend it in a way that would allow general resident traffic to enter and exit on First Avenue. The agreement currently says that the First Avenue entrances are for emergency and service vehicles only. And the amendment paragraph talks about amendments that one can do administratively that would not require an amendment to the agreement. An administrative amendment can only be done if the planning director agrees that it's administrative. I'm perfectly fine to put on the record right now that if we were to propose to change the site plan to have the First Avenue entrances and exits be for the general public, that would not be an administrative amendment and it would have to come back for a full review. I think even if I didn't say that, Mr. Power would probably say it anyway. So I don't think that the fact that we have an amendment paragraph in the agreement means that we're going to change how we handle the entrances from First Avenue. The agreement speaks to that very clearly, that that's for emergency vehicles and service vehicles only. The issue about the sign having been down for 22 hours, that was something that was dealt with at the March meeting. All the notices were redone for this meeting, including mailed out notices, signs, advertisements, whatever may have been required. And I believe we provided the certification that all of those items were done correctly. As for there was a comment about height referendums. That issue was addressed at prior meetings where the only provisions in your charter that were voted on by the public dealing with heights are east of the Intercoastal Waterway. The rest of the city, the heights just come out of the regular zoning code, which we have followed. The traffic question and the impacts to the neighborhood as part of the land use plan map amendment, we had to analyze the impact on traffic, schools, water, sewer, parks, and all of that was done. And all of it was reviewed by the appropriate people. Both the city and the county had traffic experts that reviewed our traffic expert study to make sure they agreed that the roadways had sufficient capacity to handle the traffic from the development. Same thing with the school review to make sure there was enough school seats in the schools to handle the anticipated population from the project. And then I know State Representative when Clark Reed asked, it's my understanding that we have been reviewed by Broward County and we do not have contamination that will be an issue for us there. And even if we did, it would have to be cleaned up to the residential standard, which is the highest standard for contamination remediation. If I fail to answer or address one of the issues, please let me know and I'll make another effort.
Mr. Mele.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Preston.
Yes, sir.
Let's just say that as we move forward, I know what happened. I know what was said about the traffic study, but as we move forward and the study that was done doesn't really pan out in the way that of what was really relayed in terms of information and what we were to expect. If that should happen, are you willing to commit to do whatever you need to do to mitigate, heavy traffic in that area?
Well, we believe that what we've done is accurate and we believe that it will work. But if there's something that needs to be done in the future, we're certainly willing to talk with the city about what that might be. I don't know what it might be, so I can't say automatically I would do something if I'm not sure what it is, but certainly we would be willing to work with the city to address the impacts as best we can.
What I'm asking you, Mr. Mele, if the residents in that area, they find themselves in a compromising way. In other words, the study is not really revealing itself in the manner that was thought of. And would you be willing to do what you need to do to make sure that the residents is accommodated? That's my question.
Certainly, we will continue to work with the residents even after this. And if there's an issue that needs to be taken care of, we will do our very best to do so. I will tell you, Commissioner, that As we've gone along in this process, there have been a couple of neighborhood leaders that have stayed in touch with us, and we have stayed in touch with them, and we will continue to do so. So if there is something that we can do that would address the concerns of the neighbors, we would absolutely make every effort we can to do so.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Parnas?
First, let me say that 3.5 years ago, I did accept a donation to my campaign from Mr. Mele. I do not know who he's representing here in terms of personally, nor have I ever received anything or any promise of anything. I personally think this is a wonderful project for Deerfield Beach. We had an old boatyard there. I understand that accommodations were made for the boat owners to move to another marina. I think it'll enhance the neighborhood. And in my opinion, anything that does that to a neighborhood is an improvement for the whole city. I support this because it looks to me like an upscale on the river dwelling for people. And I think it's a help to the city, and it's a help to the neighborhood in increasing its property values. And with that, I will support this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commission? Commissioner Drosky?
In addition to my colleague, Mr. Parnas, I would like to add as well that there has to be a benefit to this area. There has to be a benefit to the residents. I mean, I understand new development is challenging. I understand that it's not always comfortable, but look what we're getting, from the applicant. We're getting a new lift station, which will improve the sewage in that area. We're getting additional drainage to First Avenue, 5th Street, and North River Avenue. There's some flooding areas over there that's going to be improved with the drainage that's being put in addition to the lighting that's going to be on these streets. If I were a resident, I would be, concerned that a new project is coming in, but I'd also be somewhat excited that there's going to be these infrastructure improvements made to that particular area. So I see that as a big benefit to the city. I see that as a big benefit to the residents, and I'll be in favor of the project as well.
Thank you. I see someone has their hand raised again, but we've already closed it to the public, and you've had your opportunity to speak on the item. Mr. Mele, and this was discussed before when we talked about the study, and we talked about the current zoning, what could be allowed compared to what is being changed and being allowed now. And is this going to impact the residents? Absolutely. If you look at that property, if we could bring it up again, the aerial view, most of the property in this area is empty. There isn't development on those sites. And when you look at a site, any site, you have to look at what the maximum zoning would allow. And because this is a hodgepodge of different zoning types in there, if they were built out to their maximum, and Mr. Mele, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't that put this project below what they could potentially be if they were built out to their maximum allowable use?
That is correct. The majority of this property is commercial. A small portion is 10 units per acre, and a very small portion is 5 units per acre. So the actual traffic is a significant reduction from what you could do if you simply built this property out under the current zoning. And when we were at the Broward County Planning Council, I think we showed that our traffic was a fraction of the amount that would be allowed under the current land use. It was a very significant reduction. But notwithstanding that, at the city level, we did a very detailed traffic analysis because the city was worried about not only the county roads and that sort of thing, but the local traffic on River Drive, First Avenue, Hillsborough Boulevard, et cetera. So it was a very significant reduction in traffic from the amount that would have been allowed had we simply developed it as it was land used and zoned.
Thank you. And in that situation, when it's the zoning laws are in place, the zoning rules are in place, and you come in and you fall within those rules, you don't ask for a variance. And really, the city attorney, I guess you could probably say this: it's very difficult for a commission to be able to say no, you're not allowed to do that. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, in a circumstance where they meet the comp plan, they meet all of the code requirements, generally you're supposed to approve that development as a ministerial. It's almost ministerial at that point.
Thank you. My point is, will it impact the residents compared to what they're used to now? Absolutely it will, because most of that area is not developed or built out. If you even take some of the residential lots that are not built out, that would have an impact on the residents. What this is doing is changing the potential of what could be there and making it a reality. The potential of what could be there with the existing zoning is far worse of an impact on this neighborhood than what is currently being proposed. And this is a shot in the arm for the area. This is exactly the type of development that we've been talking about, that this section of the city needs. This is why we've had discussions regarding looking at a CRA for the central area of the city, is because this is the type of development we need. Now, with that, I think there have been some adjustments to this to lessen the visual impact of it. And I believe even the reduction in the number of units from the initial conversations that took place years ago, I believe I'm correct on that. Is that accurate, Mr. Mele?
Yes, we're at 326, which is 39 units an acre. And in our original proposals, we were almost at 50 units an acre. So it was significantly lowered. But by the time we went to all the hearings, we were already down to the 326, which is the number that people are talking about this evening as well.
Right. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, is there anything you need to add?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Pursuant to City of Deerfield Beach Code of Ethics Ordinance 2009-006, the applicants and representing attorney, Mr. Mele, have completed the disclosure affidavit, which is outlined in the agenda backup.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Preston, then Vice Mayor Parnas.
When we look at any type of, in addition to any of our existing communities, we have to look at it, and we must be detailed and analytical as well. I think there are a lot more positive here, and Mary, you're right, because we talked about bringing certain projects to this area, and so it meets that criteria. However, I will tell you that I'm not really thoroughly convinced that the most that could have been done to ease the tension of some of the people that had concerns was actually done. And my senses just tell me that, you know, in that it's just, you know, some concerns. But there's certainly more here to be gained. I just think that whenever you introduce something of this magnitude to a community, it's incumbent upon the developer and everybody that's involved, including the city, to make sure that that transition is as easy as possible. And when you don't do that, you get grumbling, and you get people, that are just not comfortable with, you know, something that might prove to be a benefit. And like I said, from the questions that I've gotten, and the concerns and comments that have come my way, it just leaves me in a position that I think that there was more that could have been done just in the line of communication. If we were just to take, like, what does this do for a community, and what does it do for the city? Yes, we can talk about a lot of positive, but the most that it should be able to do is, first of all, embrace the community around it. And that's the big thing. And if you don't do at least that, what happens is that the people that live there, the people that have been there for a long time, instead of having a harmonious relationship, it becomes adversarial. And we certainly don't want that, and we don't need that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Parnas and then Commissioner Grosky.
I was going to make a motion to approve item number 4.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Preston. Commissioner Drosky has something to add before we move, call the vote?
Only that despite the clerk's announcement, I want to affirmatively state, that I also received a contribution from Mr. Mele's law firm during the 2017 campaign. I have not received any contribution from Vista Clare or any of its principals.
Yeah, I am the same on that as well. Commissioner Hudak?
Affirmative on that as well. I received a campaign contribution from Mr. Neely's firm, but nothing from Vista Clara.
Okay.
I need to say that I didn't receive anything from Vista Clara, and I didn't receive anything from Mr. Mele. And I'm gonna think about that.
All you had to do was ask.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Madam Clerk, now this is an approval for item number 4. We will need to do each one individually from there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for item number 4.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
Mayor Gant.
Yes.
All right, and Mayor, I'll now read the title for item number 5, and I'll continue in that manner. And just a reminder, 5 through 6 and 7 are the plat amendments that were proposed and presented by the developer's representative. Item number 5 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the plat application submitted by Deerfield Development Resources LLC to amend the plat note for a 4.537 acre parcel of land located at 414 Northeast First Ave, Deerfield Beach, to be restricted to development of an ancillary parking garage to accommodate the proposed Vista Clare Apartments project, application number 19P-222.
We included our public comment for all of the items related to this. At this point, I see Vice Mayor, you have your hand up.
Yes, I move that we approve the item 5.
We have a motion from the Vice Mayor,
Second.
second from Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
Mayor Gant.
Yes.
Item number 6 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the plat application submitted by Deerfield Development Resources LLC to amend the plat note on the Pinnell family plat book 160, page 23, for 3.5007 acres of land located at 412 North River Drive and 454 Northeast First Avenue, Deerfield Beach, to restrict parcels A and B to 179 mid-rise dwelling units to accommodate the proposed Vista Clare Apartments development, application number 19-P-223.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Commissioner or Vice Mayor Parnas?
A motion to approve?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
Mayor Gant.
Yes.
Okay, item number 7 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the plat application submitted by Deerfield Development Resources LLC to amend the plat note for a 0.4 acre parcel of land located at 430 Northeast First Avenue, Deerfield Beach, Florida, to be restricted to development of an ancillary parking garage to accommodate the proposed Vista Clare Apartments project. And this is application number 19-P-224.
Vice Mayor Parnas?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
Mayor Gant.
Yes.
Okay, that completes the plat amendment applications. The next item is the site plan, and that is item number 8 on the agenda. And that is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving a site plan. Sorry, my title's loading here. having a little trouble loading. My apologies. Approving a major site plan application by Deerfield Development Resources LLC for the 326 multifamily dwelling unit development and attached parking garage and associated site improvements for the property located at 414, 430, 454, and 480 Northeast First Avenue, 240 Northeast 5th Street, 412, 424, 430, 446, 450, and 458 North River Drive, and 409 North River Avenue. Item number 8, site plan.
Commission,
Motion to approve.
Second,
motion from Commissioner Hudak, second from Vice Mayor Parnas. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
yes,
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 9 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, abandoning 7 existing utility easements generally located at 414, 430, 454, and 480 Northeast First Avenue, 240 Northeast 5th Street, 412, 424, 430, 446, 450, and 458 North River Drive, and 409 North River Avenue in connection with the redevelopment of 12 parcels to accommodate the 326 unit multifamily Vista Clara development. And that's abandonment application number 19-A-195.
Motion to approve.
second,
Motion from Commissioner Hudak, second by Vice Mayor Parnas.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
yes,
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
And finally, item number 10 is the development agreement, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving a development agreement with the developer of the Vista Clara multifamily residential development to be located on 8.4 acres at 414, 430, 454, and 480 Northeast First Avenue, 240 Northeast 5th Street, 412, 424, 430, 446, 450, and 458 North River Drive, and 409 North River Avenue, Deerfield Beach, Florida.
Motion to approve.
second,
Motion from Commissioner Preston, second by Vice Mayor Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
yes,
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Okay, item number 11 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Division 2, parking citations and penalties of Article 2, stopping, standing, parking of Chapter 66, traffic and vehicles of the code by creating Section 66-44 towing to provide for the towing of vehicles in violation of parking regulations, providing for conflict severability, codification, and effective date. And this is a second reading.
Is there anyone from the public that's either written in or would like to speak on this item?
No, sir, I don't have any written comments.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I'm going to close it to the public. Commission,
Motion to approve.
second,
motion by
But-
Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to raise my hand here.
There you go. Commissioner Preston, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I know what this ordinance is trying to accomplish, but I just think that this is the wrong time to be towing people's cars with the issues that we have as it relates, to shortfall in money and that sort of thing. And, I just think that this is not the right climate to be doing that in. I just wish there was another alternative, something else that we could do, because certainly as it is written, I think it's going to put an undue burden on a lot of people.
Okay. Commissioner Parnas,
yeah.
Vice Mayor Parnas, excuse me.
okay. When is the right time to have people obey the law? Just because we have a pandemic and people are in economic stress, as many of our citizens are, we still have to uphold the rule of law. People who get several parking tickets deserve to be towed. One ticket, as we discussed at the last meeting, okay, they get warnings to come and pay it. They get a second warning, they get a third warning. Now they get a second ticket. They get a first warning and a second warning. By the time we have 3 tickets, they know they're not obeying the law. And it's time we had their car towed. Otherwise, we're just aiding and abetting illegal parking anywhere in the city. I think this is a necessary evil. Nobody likes to see anybody's car towed, but if it's the only way we're going to stop illegal parking, which from becoming totally rampant, this bill is necessary and I support it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. City Manager, I see you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to provide a little bit more background on this one, and just so that the commission understands. This circumstance would be for a vehicle who has already 2 outstanding parking violations and has a 3rd occurrence. So this would be somebody who could be considered a frequent flyer within the city's parking enforcement areas. So I understand what you are saying, Commissioner Preston, as well as Vice Mayor Parnes. I do just want to point out this is not obviously going to be someone who has their initial or their second infraction. This would be a 3rd infraction in which they never paid for the first or second infraction. Additionally, as we discussed during the first reading, we will be moving forward with presenting to the City Commission, as Mr. Harvey Figueroa provided in the presentation, the parking paid program, which would provide the ability for those with parking violations, an amnesty on any late charges that have accumulated to a given point of time, to provide them the opportunity to just pay that parking ticket. So that is another way in which we can reduce the fine amounts for those who have violated our parking ordinance, and not only recoup the parking fine, but reduce the overall cost for that individual. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Santucci. Commissioner Preston.
I know that this commission wants to do what's right, but I think if there was ever a period for leniency, this would be it. You know, people are really forced into some very terrible circumstances, and if something happens where a person gets a couple of tickets, you know, single mom, she can't pay, that sort of thing, people tend to run and hide. And is it the right thing? No, but in this current environment, this is very, very difficult for a lot of people economically. And if you find yourself not necessarily on the lower end of that social ladder, but just find yourself in a position where you just, you know, it's just not going right for you right now. You lose your car, it can really get bad for you. So I understand the intent of this, of the people who would just try to abuse it. My objection is the time that we're in, the circumstances that we're in. And if, like I said, if there was any time to be lenient, to me, this would be it.
Thank you, Commissioner Preston. I will say this, if you look at where do we have meters in this city? We only have them on the beach. If you've accumulated 3 stops at the beach and you're not paying your ticket, I have a little bit of a hard time with that. We don't have metering in the Cove Shopping Center. We don't have it in different areas throughout our city. I would hope that if someone gets themselves in a situation where they have 1 or 2 outstanding tickets, that they would reach out to the city. And I think in the past, and I'm sure if they reached out to Mr. Soroka, that there has been some leniency provided. I think in this particular situation, and I certainly see Commissioner Preston's point. I think at this point, though, we are on a second reading. I would like to see this go through, but certainly I would hope that we are open-minded to that in dealing with people in certain circumstances. So, Vice Mayor Parnas, do you have something else to add, or are you looking to reiterate your motion to?
No, I'm just looking to make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Parnas. Looking for a second. Second, Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call, please.
I'm sorry, Mayor, just to clarify, on item 11, Commissioner Hudak made the motion previously and it was seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas.
My apologies, that's correct. So we have an original motion from Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
No.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes,
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 12 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Article 7, Use of Cities Rights of Way of Chapter 2 Administration to conform with state law, amending Section 2-454 to provide for administrative approval of certain applications for use of city rights of way by persons other than a communication service provider, providing for conflict severability, codification, and effective date. This is second reading.
Is there anyone from the public here to comment on this item? Not seeing it, I'm gonna go ahead and close it to the public.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I do have one written comment.
Excellent, go ahead.
It's from Robert G. Scott Jr. of Davis, Wright, and Tremaine LLP.
Mhm.
Dear Mayor Gantz, Vice Mayor Parnas, and Commissioners, we write on behalf of Comcast regarding the scheduled second reading tonight of Public Hearing 2020-065, an ordinance amending Article 7 of Chapter 2 of the City Code, Regulations for Communications Facilities and the City's Rights of Ways. This letter supplement comments we submitted on February 6, 2018 with respect to Ordinance Public Hearing 2018-042, which also amended Chapter 2 in response to previous state legislation. One of the city's stated goals with regard to the ordinance is to amend and revise the code for consistency with the most recent amendments to Section 337.40 Florida statutes, which the legislature enacted last year in Senate Bill 1000. As described in more detail below, Comcast requests that the city incorporate into the proposed ordinance an important limit on permitting requirements for wireline communication systems contained in Senate Bill 1000, which is not currently contained in the proposed ordinance. Senate Bill 1000 requires that certain work in the right-of-ways on wireline communication systems be exempt from local permitting. Specifically, Senate Bill 1000 provides that a municipality or county may not require a permit for the maintenance, repair, replacement, extension, or upgrade of existing aerial wireline communications facilities on utility poles or the aerial wireline facilities between existing wireline communications facility attachments on utility poles. Florida Statute 337.4013G. The existing city code, however, provides that a registrant shall not commence to place or maintain a communications facility in a city public right-of-way until all applicable permits have been issued by the city. See Code Section 2-456A1. Although the code exempts routine maintenance or emergency maintenance work on aerial wireline facilities and other facilities, it does not exempt all of the work Senate Bill 1000 allows without a permit. The proposed ordinance begins to broaden the exemption from permitting so that it would allow service restoration work or repair work, including but not limited to emergency repair of existing facilities or extension of such facilities or providing communication services to customer without a permit. Yet as drafted, the exemption does not exempt from permitting the full range of work exempt under Senate Bill 1000. That's my time, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else from the public? I'm going to close it to the public. Commissioner Drosky. Commissioner Drosky, you might want to get unmuted. Thank you, Commissioner.
Sorry, I was waiting to be unmuted. My comments have nothing to do with the letter that was just read. I didn't see that before this evening. But I voted no on first reading as an attack on home rule. And I'm voting no again tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to address that letter that came in yesterday. I have been in contact with the attorney for Comcast, and I believe he's referring to something that was not addressed in Senate Bill 1000, a prior comment that they made in 2018 with respect to wireline communication. And this is cable communication and wires that go from one pole to the other. Nevertheless, we will comply with applicable state law. So I have responded to them, and I think they are satisfied. I don't want to speak for them, but that's the take I got in communicating with them.
Yes, and we all want to make sure that Comcast is satisfied.
They, anyway, this is to conform with state law.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. And I understand your point, Commissioner Drosky, regarding another attack on our home rule. Commission? Vice Mayor, is that a motion?
Yes, a motion to approve.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'll make a second.
We have a second by Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call, please.
Drosky,
No.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Yes,
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 13 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving a large-scale corrective land use plan amendment to amend the boundaries and density of the Century Village dash line area on the City of Deerfield Beach future land use map for consistency with the county's future land use map and the density that exists within the Century Village community, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date. And this is second reading.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is anyone who's written in to speak on this item?
No, sir, but I do have RDELP who wants to ask questions, but I do not have any written comments.
Okay. I don't see a hand up for that individual, but if you
Yes.
can call on them. Vice Mayor, hold one moment. We're going to hear from the public first. if That's all right. And we just need your name and address for the record, please. Madam Clerk, are they commenting?
No, sir, I asked him to unmute himself and he's not muted.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a male or female, but RDELP, you can go ahead with your comments and questions. Okay, her name is Rosa Delp, and no, ma'am, we cannot hear you. If you'd like to chat with me what your question is, I can ask it for you. Okay, her question is, how would this amendment affect our property and our neighborhood?
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, I'm going to close it to the public. And Mr. City Attorney, can you answer that question, please?
Sorry, what was the specific question, Madam Clerk?
What is the impact of this on the resident or on the neighborhood in their community?
Okay, my understanding of this ordinance is that it's to update the city's map to conform with the county's map with respect to the density within the community, and it's with respect to the existing density that's already there. Apparently there was more units that were already existing unrelated to the toll development, and the map needed to be updated to reflect the existing density. So it's an administrative cleanup item. That's my understanding. I don't know if Mr. Power has more to add.
I don't see his hand up. So to answer the question, there's not an impact?
Not a substantive impact, no, Mr. Mayor. It's an administrative cleanup item.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Parnas?
Yeah, I had it explained to me this way, that when the map was originally drawn and the map of today, the city's map and the county map are slightly different, and this is an administrative tool to bring them in line where they both match. It's that simple. It will not affect the community in any way.
Okay, I'm going to close it to the public then. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Is that a motion?
Yes. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Parnas, second from Commissioner Preston. We have all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Now we're on to public comment.
Yes, we're now at the public comment section of the agenda. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. All remarks made by the public at the commission meeting at this point should be made on non-agenda items. If you have a public comment on an agenda item, the time to do that is when that agenda item is called. Just a reminder, no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person. No language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted. And I'll just ask Madam Clerk, if you could just please indicate to folks who may not know how they can chime in for public comment if they are in via Zoom and they may be on a phone and can't click the raise hand feature.
Anyone who's participating via Zoom, if you wave your mouse under the video, on a participants tab will pop up. Click on participants, and at the bottom right-hand corner, you will see a little box that says raise hand. If you are dialing in on a telephone, simply dial *9 and it'll raise your hand that way.
Thank you. My understanding is we have someone in the chambers to come up to speak. Just name and address for the record, please, and then we have someone whose hand is up.
Hello, Amy K. Tanner, 111 Southeast 5th Avenue, Otis Tanner Way, Deerfield Beach, 33441. And even such as it is, it's good to see you all. It's been a long few months, and many of us have missed you and being here. I'd like to convey my sympathy to the loss of our personnel that had been with us for so long. I would also like to share that in this past week, we lost another Deerfield pioneer, Mrs. Margaret Briggs, the wife of Dr. Arlen Briggs, passed this past week. She was, they were both charter members of the Deerfield Beach Historical Society. Miss Briggs is responsible for many of our properties being on the National Register of Historic Places, which is a pretty big deal. She was very instrumental in the listing of the elementary school, and she was 103 years old. They came here from the north. They felt that they were coming down as missionaries to this very different little southern town. And she was such a wonderful, vital part of our community. We suffered a great loss. And that's really all. I hope that we can all be in the same room someday before too long.
You, Ms.
And
Tanner.
all well.
Thank you very much. And Briggs Hall over at the Presbyterian Church is named after Mr. and Mrs. Briggs.
Yes, they came down here as a Presbyterian minister, missionaries, was largely Southern Baptist and assorted faiths, but they were wonderful people. They had 3 wonderful children that contributed to the community, and they were a great asset to this community.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Appreciate that. I don't see anyone else in the chambers. We're going to go to Ms. Garcia. Your hand is raised. This is now your time to speak on your item.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Hi. My name is Virginia Garcia Perez, and I am the owner of the property located at 1050 Northwest 45th Street in Deerfield Beach. And I'm here to address the concern raised by one of my neighbors, Mr. Adam and Morgan Usina, at the last commissioner meeting held on July 7th, 2020, pertaining to my property, the rental of the same through Airbnb. They have been the only neighbors from the community that have complained, and they have misrepresented the facts. Although it is true that in the past, we were some loud and disruptive renters, it is not true that we are indifferent to the destruction, and we have made every effort to solve our differences. Specifically, we have prohibited all types of parties under the House of Rules of Airbnb sites. And we have strongly cautioned our renters about parties. It is important to mention that in the 6 months that we have rented the property, only 2 significant complaints have been raised by the same neighbor. And the property owner has addressed them immediately through Airbnb and the city. We even wrote a letter to our neighbors to clarify our differences. And they have characterized the letter threatening. And they have attacked us online by ugly posting and newspaper articles, including a Facebook posting titled, "How to Close Out an Airbnb in Our Neighborhood." Believe me, we only want peace in our community. All permits and our property are up to date and have been complied with and approved by the city of Deerfield Beach. There's only one building permit that is outstanding and in which we have only received a courtesy notice from the city and have tried repeatedly for the past 3 weeks to contact the city and have follow up with the city 3 times, but we have not received any response. Respectfully, we take this opportunity to ask the city to answer our request for information on our pending permit. And I understand that our neighbors don't like having an Airbnb next to them. However, vacation rentals home contribute to the local economy, to the state of Florida as a whole. And we ask that for property and in compliance like ours, that the city allow us to continue with our rental and rightful quiet enjoyment of our property. Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Your property was only recently registered with the city of Deerfield Beach under our ordinance requiring you to be registered. Is there a reason why?
No, we have that permit since February. I don't know why they keep asking us for that permit, and we already have it.
So
And we've been sending the permit again and again and again, and they've been asking us for
Okay.
that permit, and we have it.
Okay. Thank you
So
very much.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, they have it, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public? Madam Clerk, is anyone else written in? I'm gonna go ahead and close it to the public then. Oh, wait, we have someone? Yes, Susan Papagikos. If you could unmute her, please. And if I butchered your last name, my apologies.
It's okay. Mr. Mayor, this is Susan Papagikos on behalf of the person that just spoke, Mrs. Rubia Gomez. Just to clarify for the record, we're aware of the tenants attending the last commissioners meeting. The allegations that they reported to the committee, apparently recently a local newspaper, local community websites. And I understand from the last meeting that one of your commissioners, Mr. Todd Drosky, who was in his area, was interested in the case, that the commission consider that there's always two sides to every story. It's a tit for tat. And we will be more than happy to supply any evidence, information that the committee needs to make a decision. We respect, we understand that Airbnbs is a hot issue. People don't want them in the community, yet you have some, property rights. We just asked the commissioners in the last commission, Mr. Mayor, you asked the city manager to reach out to the couple, my client, concerning this matter. To date, no one, not the commission, not your office, not a newspaper, has reached out to my client to get their side of the story. So I would ask the commission to—
Are you an attorney representing them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
She's been forced to hire. It's been very stressful. And there's always two sides, right? The truth lies in the middle. I just asked the commission to reach out to my client if they have any questions, which they have not done so to date. We have plenty of evidence that we can supply, but it is unfortunate. She has a right. Mr. and Mrs. Usina, we are compassionate to their complaints, but just like they're renting their property, their landlord has the right to rent to them. My client has a property right to run an Airbnb under the regulations of the state of Florida and the city of Deerfield Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is there anyone else from the public? I don't see anyone from the public. I'm going to close it to the public. Mr. Santucci?
I'm sorry, Mayor. We have Paul Gorku. He can't raise his hand, so he—
Okay, sure. Go right ahead. I'll keep it open then. Go ahead, sir. Use your name and address for the record.
Mr. Gorku, you need to unmute yourself. There he is.
Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please. Paul, if you could go ahead and speak up. It's your turn to speak. Paul, would you like to comment?
I haven't received any more chats from him, but the only question that he presented was, he asked, what is the status of the lakes concept within the CVE proposed park areas, which are to be provided by FDOT?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yvonne, is there anyone else? No, I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public at this point then. Mr. Santucci, you had a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been loosely following that resident vacation rental issue since it was brought up at the last commission meeting. So I'm probably not the best person to provide an update on any communications or events that have occurred since then. If I may, I would like to allow Mr. Power to provide an update to the City Commission.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Power, Director of Planning Development Services, the City of Deerfield Beach. I can tell you that this address, 1050 Northwest 45th Street, did submit their application for vacation rental 2 weeks ago. We are not aware of an application that was submitted prior to that. I also know that Bernard Pita has spoken to Ms. Garcia Perez on several occasions. So I'm not sure what she's referring to when she says the city has not reached out to her. There's also a citation for this property for work without permit, and I don't see any current permits submitted at this time.
Okay, so they have they've been cited for working without a permit, and they have not even submitted a permit for the work that's been done?
I don't see any permits in the system at this time.
Okay, and Bernard Pita has reached out to them, and so that is the policy in which we go by, and they did not apply to be registered as part of the rental policy that we have for the city of Deerfield Beach until 2 weeks ago?
I don't have any record of them applying prior to the citation.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Next.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we are now on the consent portion of the agenda. If the commission wants to approve them as a whole, this is items 14 through 18. I'd just like to point out if the commission is considering approving them on consent, that I would suggest you pull item 14. Item 15 through 18 are looking for your consideration and approval. Item 14 is a motion to table, so it would be a different motion than the others, should you choose to go with staff's recommendation.
Not a problem. Before we jump into that, I just want to have, it is my understanding to answer the one gentleman's question regarding the lakes situation with Century Village and the information coming over for FDOT. I'm not aware of what the latest update is on that. Mr. Santucci, did you have any information on regarding that?
Mayor, only that I know that FDOT did have their meeting with Century Village last week. I know that was a topic of discussion. I think there's a little bit of reluctancy to allow for that drainage onto the property, but I know that they're still in communication. I'm sure Vice Mayor Parnes knows the same or more on that subject.
Vice Mayor?
They presented that they're going to make a proposal that would be beneficial to Century Village, but they do have other avenues if we say no. Master Management has not made a decision. I know that they were listening and were part of the conversation. As soon as I get further information as to the decision by the governing body of Master Management, I will let the city know.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. My apologies, Mr. City Attorney. Is there anyone from the public who wanted to comment on item number 14, 15, 16, 17, or 18? Madam Clerk, is anyone written in?
No, sir.
I don't see anybody's hand raised on this. If we could pull item 14 and do that separately, because there's a monetary value connected with that. Is that correct, City Attorney?
Yeah, well, it's really the suggested action is a motion to table indefinitely, whereas the other items are looking for your consideration and approval.
All right, we're looking for a motion to table indefinitely, item number 14.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion by Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. We're going to move forward. Looking for any, are there any polls for items 15, 16, 17, or 18? Not seeing anyone from the public on these items. I don't see them and close it to the public. Commission looking for a motion to motion for each that would group all these together.
Motion to approve.
Go ahead, Ben, your turn.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston. Second from Vice Mayor Parnes. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Departmental business?
Yes, Mayor, we were asking that this also be tabled indefinitely. This is the item that was brought before you at the last meeting, which is the Arboretum wall mural. We are in conversations with the artist and the Friends of the Arboretum, but we are not prepared at this time to come forward with the revised concept.
Right, no, that's item 19.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes, item 19. Is that what we're talking about here?
Correct.
Okay. I will say this, and I do want to apologize. The last commission meeting we had, it was a late night. We might have been a little drained after a long conversation, and we might have been a little too harsh in our judgments. At least I will speak for myself. And talking about the design that was presented, it was still a beautiful design. This artist is outstanding. She does a great job throughout this city. And it was by no means a shot or a severe criticism of Ms. Gampari. And unfortunately, I think my tone, and maybe I'll only speak for myself, but my tone might have been a little more harsh and certainly what my heart was saying when it came to the piece itself. So I do want to thank her, and we look forward to seeing this new revised piece brought forward in the future. Looking for a motion then to table, if that's all right.
Motion to table.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously.
Okay, comments by administration and legal.
Okay. Legal, we'll go with you first. How's that?
Okay, it's easy for me today. No comments, Mayor.
Mr. Santucci?
Thank you. I do have a few things. The first would be to notify the city commission that on July 31st, which would have been, I believe, Friday, we received a letter signed jointly by the Florida Atlantic Research and Development Authority, Mr. Andrew Duffel, the president, and DRP Finance LLC, which is the subleasee to the FARDA property there on the 4 acres, Mr. James Egan. The letter was addressed to the city attorney and recognizes that a building permit is due to the city by August 22nd, 2020 per the terms of the 5th Amendment to the agreement that was dated on August 20th, 2019. The letter says that due to the global COVID-19 pandemic that they have been adversely affected and unable to pursue any development onto that property. They have jointly requested a 9-month extension from August 22nd, 2020 to May 22nd, 2021 to obtain a building permit as to the additional property. They had requested that I place this on tonight's agenda. I did not feel it was appropriate to add this as a last-minute add-on item for tonight's meeting, given the fact that there was very little time for this request. So I am bringing it to your attention today for any discussion that you may have or direction to provide to me.
Okay. Well, it's nice that they once again waited to the last minute. I'm glad they're so concerned about this property moving forward with our city that they've, gave us ample time to respond properly. I know they've tried to call me for a meeting here in the last couple of weeks, and I refuse to speak to them at this point. If anyone else, I direct them towards staff and let you all work that out. Are you looking for direction on this, Mr. Santucci?
If there is no further comment, I'm going to assume that I just received it.
Commissioner Drosky?
Pardon me, without more details, a letter of intent, a client that they may have that's interested in the property, a contract they might have. I don't know that we have anything to talk about. So the devil's always in the details. There's no details from my understanding. So they need to provide that in quickly. Otherwise, there's nothing to discuss.
Commissioner Hudak?
I'm just going to agree with everything that Commissioner Drosky just said.
Let's not make that a habit, okay?
Ever reputation to uphold.
Next item.
Yes, the next item, Mayor, is I want to inform the City Commission, as you have been individually informed, that the vendor for the city's utility bill payment provider has had yet another issue with their system that has been communicated to any affected customers within the utility billing. Because of this, I have demanded that we go ahead and move in a different direction and remove them completely from the equation. Staff has researched viable options to move away from the Central Square's Click2Gov payment processing payment solution. And we have found that a contractor, a vendor by the name of Pimentis, to be a very, very viable candidate to take over this service for the city, doing the online credit card payment processing. This vendor has been in existence for over 20 years, I believe. They have an impeccable reputation for security transactions through online payment. They have a knowledge and have resided within our environment with previous clients. And they also are presenting a much more cost-friendly option for us moving forward from what we currently have. For those reasons, I have worked with both not only the city attorney, but the CFO and the CIO to negotiate a contract that has been vetted by the city attorney very closely. And in the essence of expediency of moving away from the current contractor, I would like to go ahead and execute that contract tomorrow, and then bring it back before the city commission for ratification at the next meeting. So for this, I would actually be looking for some direction through motion for the commission to accept that for me to move forward.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Santucci, this system, will it work with our current and any future systems that we want to put in place with the finance department?
This is a standalone system, so it surely can be integrated into a new master ERP that we have down the road.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Preston?
Mr. Santucci, you are thoroughly convinced from your research and analysis that this will alleviate the strain on administration and the residents equally?
I wouldn't call it strain, Commissioner Preston, because I don't want to confuse this with the overall enterprise research, the ERP system, which is causing the strain. This is the online credit card payment processor for utility billing. And they have had issues in the past. We've had another recent issue with them from a security standpoint, and that's just not going to be tolerable.
You need any further direction?
No, that should suffice. Thank you. Also, the next thing is at the meeting where we discussed the recycling program, and the official direction provided by the city commission was to modify the recycling program until October 1st. So I wanted to inform the city commission, and I think that was provided because there was a conversation that we weren't sure at the time if Waste Management would be willing to extend it until January 1st, although there was definitely conversation on the dais to modify the program until January 1st. We have received confirmation from Waste Management that they would be willing to extend the modification of the program that we currently have until January 1st. And that is something that I've been discussing on how that could be effectuated with the city attorney. And so that can be done administratively, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, city attorney. It's just
I'm going to suggest that the commission just pass a motion, because I think clearly in the last conversation, the desire was to go longer to January 1. And that seemed to be the consensus of the commission. However, the representative from Waste Management at the time couldn't obligate Waste Management until speaking with their executives. That has happened. They have agreed. So I'd like to just follow up the prior motion with an additional motion, would be my suggestion, Mr. Manager, Mayor and Commission. So it'd just be a motion to approve the suspension of the recycling through January 1, with the understanding that you have that drop off available now as well.
Commissioner Preston?
No, I don't.
Okay. Commissioner Drosky? Mr. Drosky,
He's got to unmute himself.
someone needs to unmute him, I think. Yeah, there we are.
Sorry, I was muted. Is there any urgency that we need to do this tonight, Mr. City Attorney? As you know, I'm not a huge proponent of add-ons, especially at the end of a meeting when there's probably very little public participation. If it could be a regular agenda item, you know, with notice to the public, I prefer that. If there's a reason it has to be done tonight, I'd like to hear it.
No, we could make it more formal of an agenda item, and I'm just being conservative in requesting additional action from the commission, because technically on the record previously, although it was the desire, it seemed that the commission go to January 1. The motion that was approved is October 1. So either way, you approved it through October 1. So as long as it's done before then, that's fine.
That would probably be proper. I would agree with that.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that direction. That is all I have.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is comments by mayor and city commission.
All right, let's start with District 1.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of items. The first one is boats and RVs being parked in yards. Over the weekend, I received a call from a resident with a boat who stated that there are numerous individuals interested in having the city overturn the restriction of allowing boats to be parked in the front yards of the homes in the cove. My response to them was to provide me with a petition signed by at least 200 residents in the cove, requesting boats be allowed to be parked in the front yards, and then I would go ahead and present such an item to the commission. The following day, I received an email from a resident who strongly opposed to such a change, and I advised that a resident of the same with regards to the petition. This is tremendous because it is important that we hear from residents on all sides of an issue. This is your community, and all too often up here on the dais, we only hear from a passionate few on one side of an issue. I haven't seen either petition, but I just felt it was important to remind all the importance of staying connected and being educated on issues that affect our city. August 7th is Quiet Waters Food Drive from 9:30 to 12. So please, any of those that are in need, go ahead and get in line early. You know, Commissioner Preston and I have been out there religiously, and it's a great event. It really is, giving back to our community. So please come on out. We'd love to see you there if you do need it. On Saturday, August 8th, we do have a District 1 office hours from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So if you need to see me, actually these will be via Zoom or via phone call. You can contact Erica at 954-480-4263 to go ahead and schedule an appointment. The COVID-19 testing at Oviedo McKeithen. Commissioner Preston, again, thank you very much for getting this moving forward. Since June 8th, we've had 13,967 people tested by the Department of Health. Testing is available Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Monday, July 27th, I went and received my COVID testing. I got myself tested, and within 3 days, I received a negative result. The process is really, really easy. You go down to the site, and what they do is they take your name and your phone number, and they text you in about an hour, hour and a half later when you can come on back. When you come on back, you get into a line, and I was in and out in about 20 minutes. So anybody who has not been tested for COVID, I recommend, if this is something that you're interested in doing, to please, go ahead and take advantage of it. Recycling and solid waste. So we just talked a little bit about the recycling program, and I didn't have any insight. It just, happened to be something that was coincidental. The city has opened up the 3 sites for individuals who want to recycle their items to bring down to the city. So this is a photo taking of one of the sites. And as you can see, there are items in there, and I'm going to even get out of the way, that are not recyclable. These are individuals that are passionate about recycling. They're taking the time to put these items in their vehicle and bringing them down to their collection sites, and it's still contaminated. This is one of the challenges that we have with our recycling program. Over the weekend, I received an email from a resident who was extremely upset because it is his opinion that it's the commission's fault for not educating the residents on how to recycle properly. And I tried to explain to him the programs that we put forth for almost a year, the awards that our marketing department received because of the Ricky Recycling Ranger program. We want to do recycling, we really do, but it's up to the residents of Deerfield Beach to do this properly. And as you can see, even the individuals who are the passionate ones, the ones who are taking the time out of their day to put recycling items in their vehicles, to transport the items to the recycling centers, are still contaminating our bins. Please, if we want this program to move forward, we've got to recycle properly. We've had some challenges with regards to trash pickup in the last couple of months, as well as bulk pickup. And a lot of that has to do with challenges with the equipment, as well as some of the challenges that we've had with COVID. So I know that, Chad and his department are working very, very hard on resolving these issues. They're looking at different routings of the vehicles, and we will be getting better at that. We are aware of that, and we are working very, very hard to improve on that. The last item I have is the city manager's performance review. Last January, the commission approved a form, and I actually conducted the first performance review for the city manager. Basically, that just involved providing him with some specific goals. Those goals I provided was 4 of them: public safety, communications and public relations, budget and finance management, and employee relations. So before the next commission meeting, I will go ahead and evaluate his progress on those goals. And then I will go ahead and provide him with 4 new goals for the upcoming year. I do want to remind the commission that Mr. Santucci's contract states that the evaluations shall occur during the period from June 1st to August 30th, but no later than September 30th of each year. And that's all I have. I hope everybody stays safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. District 2.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing that I want to say, Mayor, you did acknowledge at the beginning of the meeting our losing Mike Chance. I don't know if everyone on the commission know how great Mike was to the city. It's not that he just was a part of the city for 30 some years. He was a guy that was from a kid that was involved with activities in Deerfield, and when he was employed by the city, always was trying to do a good job. He was really involved in baseball, and he worked with the kids a lot. He just had a huge heart, just for trying to uplift kids and point them in the right direction. And he would never be given enough credit for those things that he did related to that. And I just wanted to make everybody on the dais aware that he was not just an employee, but he was special in trying to achieve his job and to make the city of Deerfield Beach better. I'd like to make my colleagues aware that there was a meeting last night with the Piker Rattler organization and Pop Warner. The president of Pop Warner, Mr. Jay Howard, we had a meeting via Zoom, and at that meeting, it was discussed, where we're going with this. To my surprise, Pop Warner is looking to have a regular season. and they are looking to do it. And now they said that they have the other teams, and their participation is ready to move ahead. And they gave the Packer Rattler organization board that information. There will be safety measures. Kids will have to practice with masks on. They're going to do some sort of a modified huddle so that the kids aren't too close. I don't really know how that works when they're trying to run a play, when there's an offensive line in place and a defensive line. I suggested to them that if we're going to make rules, we must really put these kids up front. We must really be thinking about their safety more than anything. Listen, I really want football to happen this year. I think it would be a good thing, but not at the risk of safety. And so I suggested to Mr. Howard, the president of Pop Warner, that we suspend things for about 2 months till we can get a handle on where we're going with this virus. And he said to me, Commissioner, I don't really know that the board would be amenable to that, and we're ready to move. So Deerfield Beach's options would be that if you decide you want to hold back for a couple of months and we move ahead and we get the season started, you may end up not be able to participate because we'll be into the season and your contribution might not be a lot. So I said to him that, if we're going to be putting kids in a compromising situation, and he did say that they would have to sign, all kids have to sign a waiver, parents have to sign a waiver, just acknowledging that you might contract the virus. And I totally wasn't comfortable with that. I mean, it's good everybody can sign a waiver, but what you're telling me is that you're going to sign that waiver and we don't really have a handle on this thing. We don't have a solution. And I even said to him, you look at the way that the upper level teams, high school, college, and professional teams, they don't have a handle on this thing. They're confused. But he did say that if we choose not to, if we wait till like October, there may be no season for the Packer Rattlers. So I wanted to bring this to the commission and let you know that that meeting did take place, but Pop Warner is ready to go. They have the teams in place, and he said he would go back to the board and that he would advise the board of my request, but he said, I don't know that they will accept it, and that he would let us know. And then the last thing that I have, my son, my youngest son, is a firefighter and paramedic for BSO. I'm asking the prayers of all. He has contracted COVID-19 virus, and he lost his smell and his taste, and he's being treated. He's gaining his strength back, and so all prayers are welcome and needed. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. District 3, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I have a few things. On August 24th, I'm holding a Zoom district meeting. And the advantage of it will be that I have 4 neighborhoods that represent my district, and I'm being able to meet with all of them on one night because we're doing it via Zoom with the city. Our city manager's co-hosting with me. I will round up the usual suspects that come to a district meeting, and people will plug in. I've spoken to the heads of my 4 neighborhoods, and they've all agreed that this would be a wonderful thing. And again, any of you commissioners would like to, as soon as we have the click on numbers, we'll give them to you so you can join us. Second, As far as Pop Warner's concerned, I'm not willing to risk children's lives for football. I'm sorry. Too many people. Maybe you're not aware, but as of this morning, 1,633 people in Deerfield Beach have contracted the disease. Only a few days ago, it was 900. Now it's 1,633 as of this morning. I am concerned that we have to get stricter and harder to save people's lives. I see too many people in our city with no masks, ignoring it. And I applaud some restaurants, not that I'm plugging one, but you can't get into Bobby Rubino's because the door's locked till you knock on the door and show you got a mask on. They will not let you in for safety, and I applaud them for that. Others have guards at the gate, will not let you in. I think we have to get tougher. Another thing that's been bothering me, we got a list. I'm usually very generous with charity, but I also believe charity belongs at home first. We're laying people off, we're furloughing them, employees that have families. I think we have to take care of them first and foremost before we give away our usual largesse to charity. I'm not saying we shouldn't give some, but I've cut down my contributions this year, my recommended contributions, because I feel we're short how much? Between 5 and 9 million. Charity belongs at home first. Other than that, I'm pleased with the response of our police, our firefighters. And people say, well, my neighborhood doesn't have any COVID cases. Well, I checked Century Village. The last 60 days, there were 62 ambulance calls for COVID in the village. I checked with our fire department, and they let me know that there were 62 ambulance calls just in the village for virus cases. Whether they all tested positive or not, he didn't have it, but people that were sick. We are in a serious situation, and we have to take serious steps to keep our citizens healthy and alive. I recommend that everybody get tested. Everybody. Take the time. The life you save may be your own. We don't want to lose any more citizens than we already have. We have too many sick as it is. Whatever measures we have to take as a city, over and above what the county's doing, I think it's necessary to preserve our city. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. District 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Commissioner Parnas mentioned that we had layoffs, but I don't think that is accurate.
Furloughing. Okay, we're furloughing people. They're not totally laid off. They're giving up some days, which means they're giving up income.
Correct. That's my understanding as well. First, I want to thank the city for their preparations that most of the public probably never saw with respect to the hurricane that was right on our doorstep. The Hurricane Isaias was just a whisker away from us. Again, as you remember, Dorian was on our doorstep last year. And this is 2 years in a row where we have been in harm's way, and through meteorological, basically wonders for the state of Florida, have escaped danger, where our friends in the Bahamas have not, and now our friends in the New England area also have not. But it's just to go to show you that you need to be prepared and you need to be vigilant with these storms, because they are very unpredictable. This is two close calls that we've had. This is 2 opportunities to prepare. From everything that I've seen, that we've done a good job in doing that, but it's something that we just need to continue to be very diligent on. You can never over prepare for one of these storms. And I want to thank the city manager and his team for being prepared and ready to act at moment's notice if need be, including BSO, should that storm have shifted just a little bit to the west. I mean, it was only less than 50 miles off of our shore. And because of some abnormal wind shear that normally doesn't happen, we did not get those effects. But I want to just appreciate everybody's efforts, because there was a lot of work behind the scenes that wasn't acknowledged that goes into these preparations. Secondly, I want to thank Commissioner Hudak for the picture with respect to the recycling centers that he put up tonight. Ironically, that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss as well, because the east and west locations that we have opened have not only exhibited contamination, but from all the reports that we're getting have received excessive contamination. And Commissioner Hudak hit the nail right on the head that these are individuals who are going out of their way to recycle. These are the people that we probably want to recycle, who are taking their recycling products to these two locations, and we're still getting excessive contamination. So I don't know what the answer is for the restart of our recycling program. We have issues, with trying to make recycling work as it is, but it's something that needs to be considered and something that we need to definitely take a hard look at as part of whatever the restart is, because this interim period doesn't seem to be working either. I know that the east and the west locations are not as strictly monitored, meaning there's not an attendant as there is at the central location that is there all the time. That could be part of the reason for the excessive contamination. But if you're going to proactively get in your car and take recycling, you would think, or at least common sense would tell you, that these are the individuals that would, know the recycling rules better than others, and it's not working. It's not working. And so whatever we discuss, this needs to be taken into consideration going forward. So thank you for bringing that up tonight, Commissioner Hudak. Thank you for the picture. Picture's worth a million words, as they say. So thank you for bringing that up. And it's something just to keep an eye on, as we go forward. Two other things that I'd like to inform my colleagues and the public about tonight are with respect to the Broward League of Cities, of which I am your member. The first is with respect to the CARES Act funding. The Broward League of Cities, in connection with the Broward County City Managers Association, has been working with the county attorney's office to come up with a formula for the distribution of the 30%, which is roughly, what is that? It's 30% of the $300 million that was given to these cities. And so it's 102 million that the cities have to disperse amongst all 31 of the cities. And the Broward County City Managers Association has come up with a formula under 5 distinct categories for this reimbursement. It's not finalized yet. They're still working on it, but I know our city manager is participating in those meetings, coming up with this formula. It's a very intricate and involved process, but it is well underway, and it should be going soon to the county administrator for review and hopefully approval. And we're hoping we'll get some reimbursement for our allowable expenses going forward, which will help with the budget deficit. It's not the cure-all that we have by any stretch of the imagination, but listen, every little bit will help, and we're working very hard to make that happen. So I wanted to give you an update on that tonight. The other thing that the Broward League of Cities is working on is the solid waste working group with respect to solid waste alternatives going into the future. There's a couple items that are under discussion. One is an independent district, another is a dependent district, and then there's some minutia that get into the various details underneath each of those options, and how they're run and how the board members get appointed and how they are funded. All those are questions which are kind of pieces in flux at the moment, depending on which solution is chosen. But I just want to let you know that those discussions are ongoing as well. In fact, the next step is for the city attorneys to comment on their insights into the dependent versus independent districts going forward. And then from there, maybe we'll start narrowing down some of the options. But I just want to let you know that that's in the works as well, and that should be coming, forward in future meetings for discussion as well. But I wanted to give you all an update since we have that opportunity here. And last but not least, Commissioner Preston, my thoughts and prayers are with your son. Thank you for his service, for all the great work, that all of our men and women are doing out there on the front lines, trying to keep us safe every day. So I wish him well.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And I think that speaks for all of us when it comes to your son, Commissioner Preston. He certainly has been in mine, and wish him a swift recovery. The testing site has been fantastic. I've experienced it myself, as well as others that I know that have gone there. Nothing but rave reviews. It's an outstanding job. Our COVID cases here, and actually are updated as of this evening, is we have 1,640 cases in the city of Deerfield Beach. Pompano has 6,934. Coconut Creek has 1,113, and the city of Boca Raton has 4,705. Wow. We are surrounded by cases. This is something that knows no borders, and it is hard to contain. But as you can see, if you look around us, the numbers are staggering. And while things have slowed down compared to where they were at just a couple of weeks ago, it's still not where it needs to be. My questions tonight were pointed towards the sheriff regarding what are we doing regarding enforcement of the rules that are in place. Now, Broward County, the groups of mayors have been putting out information that kind of gives us a little bit of feedback on this, as far as how many citations have been issued, how many warnings have been issued, how many have been resolved, how many of them are not substantiated, and so how many of them are pending inspection. Now, in Broward County, there's been over 7,030 complaints. In Deerfield Beach, we have the number's a little skewed for us when it talks about not substantiated and the number of cases that are being reported. What that really also represents is how many times are we actually going to places to find out if there is an issue. Now, I will say that the city of Deerfield Beach is doing an outstanding job of going out and being proactive and looking for issues within the businesses and other areas that we have. I also think perhaps we have quite a bit of complainers as well, but we are by far, more than any other city in Broward County, have had more proactive cases and researched and looked into potential issues that are out there. A very small number of them have issues have been warnings have been issued. Most of them have come back as not substantiated, which means we've gone and checked on a situation and found out that one, a complaint that has been called in is not substantiated, or two, we've gone to a place to find out if they're following the rules, and we found out they are following the rules. But what should be concerning, not just for our city, but all of Broward County, is the actual number of citations that have been issued. Now, Fort Lauderdale numbers are through the roof. They've only issued 44 citations in that entire city. Pompano Beach, with its 6,934 cases, has only issued 7 citations in all of Pompano Beach. Deerfield Beach, we've only issued 2. If you go out on the streets and you go to some certain places, you'll see that the rules are not being followed. I am concerned about how we're handling this and going about it. I am not looking to hit somebody in the wallet and go after them. And I believe in the education component of this and making sure people are aware. But I think we're past that. We have gotten past that education standpoint. Anybody who doesn't know that they should be wearing a mask and following social distancing, I think at this point, if you haven't gotten that message, you've been living under a rock. And whether you agree with it or not, it's the county ordinance, it's our city ordinance, and you need to follow it. That's to keep each other safe and to keep us open. We're currently working on a joint PSA with the other coastal mayors, and I want to thank our city staff for coming together and doing that, and Mr. Santucci to agree with me that this was the right thing for us to take the charge on. But we're doing a joint PSA with our neighbors around us to send out a message of what we need to do to help keep our economy going, to help keep people safe. And that's extremely important. So I really hope people take this seriously and follow the rules. When it comes to the Packer Rattlers, I agree with you, Commissioner Preston. I am stunned that that they would be moving forward with something like this, especially in these uncertain times. You know, one of my many hats that I wear is I do work for the National Football League, and I can tell you what they have in place. And there's still a great deal of uncertainty out there. So I am shocked that they're moving forward. My suggestion would be, and you can't really take a budgeted line item here and promise it for another future year, but money that we have put aside to help the Packer Rattlers this season, I think that money, since we can't roll it over, what I would hope is if we don't have a season this year, and we knew this was a big season for them because this was a year in which they were going to be charging for the first time. They were not going to get the same amount of money they had previously been slated. So this was a big year for them. And if they don't have a season, it's going to be hard for them to kind of get rolling again. I would like to see us look next year to maybe taking the money that we were going to give them that year and the money that we're going to give them this year and put that all together. I know it's a conversation and some of us might not even be here when that conversation happens, but I think that's something just to keep in the back of our heads, that we know that this is a tough year. Should they not move forward in the interest of the safety of kids, that we've got their backs in the future. And I would hope that's something that we would consider. I want to thank staff for the hurricane preparation. I want to thank Commissioner Drosky for properly pronouncing the name of that hurricane. I won't attempt it, but I think that's the only reason why he brought it up, because he wanted to show off a little bit. But in all honesty, staff did an outstanding job, and the response and preparation for it was great. I do appreciate it, and that's all I have, I believe, for tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Everybody be safe.
Be safe.
You
Everybody
too,
stay
Brett.
safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Best to your son.
Thank you.
Prayers.
Thank you.